Gamer Hooshu here, back for another video. I'm probably make this and a second video kind of responding to the Sekiro easy mode controversy thing, even though it's largely died down. It's being respiked by number 2 thing I'm responding to is MatPat's video, the game theory that came out yesterday about dynamic difficulty. And so I guess I'm going to talk about MatPat's video first, and then I'll probably make a second video about the actual controversy of sorts. So in MatPat's video, I really didn't like the angle he took on it, where essentially he said, as much as he was like, oh, I'm not taking a stance, he essentially said, well, what it really is gamers aren't actually that good at games. Which is kind of weird, because he says that and then never really follows up on it. Instead, he talks about the concept of dynamic difficulty. DDA, dynamic difficulty adjustment. Which, to boil it down, is essentially if you're not doing very well at the game, if you're like dying a lot, the game might make itself a little bit easier. And just kind of the general, I don't know. He tried to connect like the whole get good meme to Doom used to makes fun of you if you play on easy mode and stuff like that, and to this dynamic difficulty adjustment concept. And it really didn't flow at all, but the major problem I have is he talks about in making the game easier. Like, the whole game. Which, even within his own examples, is not supported. One thing in particular he talks about is, because Resident Evil 4 is famous for having this dynamic difficulty. If you die, or if you're like low on ammo, the game will be a little bit more generous with you. There'll be less enemies, you might find larger amounts of ammo. Like the packet you find is 20 handgun bullets instead of 10 or 15. Or I think it more so they do 15 instead of 20. Or 15 instead of 10. Sorry. This is a byproduct of talking while I drive. But the issue is that dynamic difficulty adjustment is a very minute thing. Resident Evil 4 took a sidestep from the normal Resident Evil series, so the major thing they did is you're now expected to actually use your weapons. In having played the first 2 Resident Evil games now, I can say Resident Evil 1, they push it to, how shall I phrase this? So I've played both Resident Evil 1 and most of 2. They push the fact that you have limited ammo, so you need to be careful. And you might want to just finish off an enemy with your knife instead of wasting more bullets and stuff like that. And that's part of the like survival horror-esque part of it. In Resident Evil 4, instead, you can find ammo everywhere. There's almost always plenty of ammo. The way the game scales it, there's certain points in the game where you're starting to have less and less ammo, and so things get a little bit scarier, a little bit more threatening, and then you come out of it. And part of that is And once again, a major part of my point in this is that I've never looked any of this up. This is stuff I've either just heard by word of mouth a little bit here and there, or observed myself in the game. If I'm low on handgun bullets, that's the thing the game does, is first of all, you almost never receive ammo for a weapon you don't own. There's certain, like, forced ones, but for me personally, I never use the submachine gun called the TMP. I almost never use it when I play Resident Evil 4. I still encounter very small amounts of ammo for it, probably like 250 bullets throughout the entire game, which is 5 packets, essentially, 5 boxes. And I imagine that that's a forced thing, where they just like, yeah, we're going to put a box of TMP ammo is always sitting in this spot. Everything else, the jars, the barrels, it's like randomly generated. Sometimes you'll get nothing, sometimes you'll get money, sometimes you get ammo. Sometimes you'll get a spinal or velvet blue treasure that you can sell for money. But it's like dynamically allocated. So if I'm low on shotgun ammo, I'm a little more likely to get some shotgun ammo. If I'm low on handgun ammo, they will give me so much handgun ammo. And that's the thing the game does, is because it straight up hands you a handgun at the beginning, and you get a better one for free if you're paying attention. You can get a free second handgun. It gives you plenty of handgun ammo, but it's a moment-to-moment shift. So yes, my playthrough may be slightly easier if I'm bad at the game. That's fine. There's still a baseline. It's not like it continually decreases every time you die throughout the entire game. When I die, it's gonna shift down a little bit. When I get through the next room, or get through the El Gigante boss fight without taking a hit, it'll make sure it's back up at the baseline, or maybe a little bit higher. And then I die to the freaking boulder again. Because quick time events. So it shifts down a smidgy. And then but it stays pretty close to the baseline. And if I'm doing fine, it'll sit at the baseline. Which ultimately leads to a slightly more boring game, because, there's not that much variability. But it's not like the game is actually getting that much easier. It's just, hey, look, you've been using your shotgun more. How about we shift things so that it's actually freaking possible for you to find some shotgun ammo rather than just handgun ammo all the time. That's nice. That makes the game good. It's a good design decision, MatPat. It's not me being I'm not going to say I'm great at games, but I'm alright. When I play with people who are less experienced, I'm comparatively really good, because I've been playing freaking video games since the age of 4 on a Super Nintendo. I've developed the skills. I put in my 10,000 hours or whatever the heck. I don't know. I've never really competed in a thing, but usually in like casual stuff, the main person who beats me is my older brother, because he's a year and a half older, so he has a year and a half more experience. So sure, he's a little bit better than me, but I still beat him with Smash Bros. Sometimes, a lot of the time. It's fun. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that's kind of a jerk move, MatPat. Really. Don't call people bad. If people are having a hard time with Dark Souls or Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, or Bloodborne, or Demon Souls, it's because they're hard games. And I'm sorry, I'm not very good at Dark Souls. I get a little bit too quickly discouraged by it. So I haven't played very much of it, but who cares? I'll play something else. I'll go play a JRPG. Although I still need to freaking play Final Fantasy VI. Because people tell me it's amazing. And 7 was good. It was really good when I played it. And so is Chrono Trigger. It's pretty good. But so, I mean, that's my 10 minutes on it. I guess the other thing, and some of the stuff I put in comments on MatPat's video, but he talks about BioShock and the way that the game's designed so that enemies will always miss their first shot at you. That's decent design decision, because otherwise it feels unfair if you walk around a corner and no matter how sneaky you are, the AI knows you're there, so they have their gun trained perfectly on you. And you could just die instantly from a sniper every time you walk around a corner. That'd be bad game design. It's like, oh, the game is pitying you and making itself so much easier. They design it to be super easy. It's just a good design decision. It's part of the theming of the game that there's danger around every corner. So you go around a corner and a bullet flies past your face and hits the wall. And you're like, oh snap, time for a fight. Because the game does this shifting thing from combat scenario to let's explore things. Let's listen to the audio logs. Let's be a little creepy, survival horror-y. Because BioShock is kind of a horror game. It's kind of a creepy, scary game at times. And that's great. That's good. It's a great game. There's a reason why it's in there as one of the best games of 2000s. And like, I think it won Game of the Year 2007. If not, it lost to something else super good. Like Portal. Did Portal 2 come out? That might not have been until like 2010 or something. But the point being, you can't sit there and make fun of people because games have things that make them playable and fun. Because you know what? The AI, you literally build enemy AI to be better than the player, and then you nerf it until it's fair. Because you can't simulate like an enemy human. That doesn't work. It's like because the enemy AI is freaking like the chess robots where only a few humans can actually conceivably play against them. So you don't use the chess robots against normal people. Anyway, I disagree with MatPat's sometimes. I usually like him a lot, like his content, but this was just trash. Just clear up your points, MatPat, because there's no focus in the video even. But anyway, that's just a theory. Gamer Whoshoe yelling at theorists. Anyway, Gamer Whoshoe out.